album shit's amazing.
Lately I've been reminiscing, yeah. But lately I've been in position, yeah. Ain't no plan to switching, yeah. Ain't no need in showing up, y'all boys better call off. I see it when I take my call off. Cause I ain't taking no calls, nah. That's what me and all my dogs on. All my dogs on. That's what me and all my dogs on.
How long will Moe-T let the song ride before he starts the podcast?
Forever. I'm in charge of the song, not you. You just sit there and be silent until I stop the song.
Almost fell asleep over here
You
waiting to start.
peasant.
Wow.
That's right.
Gotta wake up here.
All right, this is actually podcast 27, unlike last episode where I said it about 3 times and it wasn't.
See? Easy mistake to make.
Yeah, I guess so. Normally I'm pretty on top of that.
No, you're not.
Podcast 27. We got no guests today. Just me and Packy. Not much going on in the music side of things.
For us?
As far as like new drops and stuff like that.
I feel like there's been a lot.
What?
Just nothing I'm super interested in other than Travis.
Oh, yeah.
Travis Scott dropped an album, you
That's
dumbass.
When did he drop?
Like last week?
Last week? Talking about this week.
I mean, it wasn't even a full week ago.
So? This is current events podcast time.
Well, we didn't do a podcast last week.
Last week's news.
Okay. You're an idiot. It literally just dropped. August 3rd. It was less than a week ago.
Oh, time for your last week's news, Packy.
You're an idiot. So I assume you haven't listened to it. And
no.
It's fire. Travis Scott is one of those guys that, at least for me, is just a really good artist. You know what you're going to get from him in a good way. Like, he has a sound and he executes it perfectly every time. The album was really dope. And he's a specific type of artist. Like, you're not going to get the lyrical, storytelling, but he really gives you just, if you like Travis, you probably don't have many songs of his that you don't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just delivers every time. So, I don't have much to talk about with the album other than he didn't disappoint again. I like he's an album artist, which is rare this day and age. I feel like so many people are singles artists, and he specifically keeps rolling out these fire albums that are cohesive and all the songs are dope. There's no just like bullshit that you want to skip over.
Right.
So yeah, shout out to Travis, man. He's been killing it pretty much since he came in. And he writes for other people, and he does a ton of other people's shit too.
Yeah, I know he does a ton of other people's shit. I just have never been like on top of his music. I know that I like him, but it's not like a guy that I look for every time that he like drops stuff.
I love his albums.
Dope. I'll have to listen to it then.
I'm pretty sure I heard his first week sales ended up being really good too, and I never actually looked up what they were. Did you hear anything about it?
I was gonna ask you.
I should try to find that. I mean, it hasn't been out for a full week, so it'd be a projection, but
right.
Anyway, I'll find it.
All right. Big thing in the news this week, music-wise.
It's expected to move between 450 and 500,000.
That's pretty good.
First week?
Yeah, that's good.
Pretty good?
I mean, that's really good.
That's huge.
Man, I didn't know that he was like...
Yeah, bro.
Had that like type of fan base.
He's just steadily been getting bigger, and then, you Kylie Jenner's baby daddy, that's going to give you a whole
new, that's why.
That's going to give you a whole new demographic.
That's why. All respect lost.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
All right, what were you talking
about?
about?
In other news, the big headline in music, I think, was this today or yesterday that this article or study or whatever? I think it was yesterday. Musicians in U.S. received just 12% of industry revenues, report finds. 12%.
Is that a surprise?
12. I mean, 12 is low. 12 is like, that's an insane number.
But that's why when we get up
like
here,
all of the musicians.
But bro, that's why when we get up here and we talk about stuff like last week or 2 weeks ago, our last podcast, when we were talking about Russ and we were talking about how he's selling out these arenas with no openers by himself. I mean, not because he's signed now, but I'm sure he has a good deal because he built up a catalog on his own. But he's selling out these arenas with no openers, and we were like, there's a super short list of hip-hop artists that are even doing that.
Yeah.
A way shorter list than the public would probably believe.
Well,
and
musicians in general.
And that number shows you why. Like, most of these big names are made by labels.
Yeah.
I mean, I was even listening to, I think it was might have been something about when Lyrical Cohen went to Breakfast Club. And it's just talking about, like, they were talking about how, yeah, you automatically are like 360 deals are, suck for artists and they take everything from you as an artist. But it's not 100% true, because if you don't really have shit to start with, or if the label really does give you 100% of their attention and put you on everything and give you this massive push to make you a superstar, then a 360 deal is good for both.
Right.
And the label should get everything because they're literally making you into this thing that you could never be on your own.
Well, and I agree with that mostly. The only thing is, though, a lot of these articles are making a good point of any other creative, like, media, like, a lot of the examples were like the movie industry.
Yeah.
Like the actors, the artists are getting paid much more of a percentage.
Right. I would be interested.
And there's just as many middlemen and like different things like that in that industry as there is in the music industry.
Yeah, because I mean, you even figure, like, just look at a song on Spotify or something like that.
Right.
I mean, even an independent artist who isn't paying a label or middlemen or anything, like, you're seeing such a small portion of the money that song actually does generate.
Right.
Like, so yeah, I can see. And then when you start getting all these middlemen involved, they're taking more. And I would be interested to know what that number was 20 years ago.
Well, they were saying,
I would guess that we're on the upswing.
Yeah. Well, the part of this article has said the rise of the internet and the decline in physical music sales caused artist revenue in absolute terms to to almost stagnate between 2000 and 2009. So it was in rough shape between those times, which makes sense. Because that was when no one knew what the fuck was going on with the music, with like Napster and like LimeWire and shit like that. But with the rise of subscription services and the growth in concert popularity, artist revenue is now on the upswing. So they're pretty much saying that because of subscription services and concerts, because the label, but with the subscription services though, the label does have their hand in that a lot. With the concerts, not so much.
Well, that's what they were even saying, why 360 deals even came about, are because of LimeWire and Napster and that age when labels were not getting
money. Oh, they're saying because, I see what they're saying. Because of the popularity of the subscription services, artists are able to tour more.
That makes sense. But you, like I was saying, you even the reason those deals and those shitty, for most people, shitty label deals even came about is because of LimeWire, Napster, and that age, the Wild West of music.
Yeah, yeah.
Because labels were not getting their, and they had to find ways to get their money.
Right, right. But even so, like a lot of what they're saying is, it's not only the labels, it's the subscription platforms as well that are like ripping artists off.
Oh much. Yeah, I mean, like we've said from the beginning, they're becoming the new label. I mean, in a better way, because everything is different for everybody depending on your deal and your status in music. Like, there's great things about streaming that you never could have before. But on the other hand, with power comes the ability to use it to fuck people over and make money yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no alternatives. There's Apple and there's Spotify.
Yeah.
You know, so they can do it because artists have to put their music out on those platforms. If you want to do anything, you have to put your music out there.
Right.
So what are you going to do? Like, oh, I don't like the deal that they're cutting me. Well, tough titty.
Well, I guess that's the one question that I have, though, is like if you're comparing this to other mediums like movies and things like that, like, does Netflix have the same effect on like the movie industry that Spotify and Apple Music are having on the music industry?
I would guess it's has similar effects.
I would guess, but I don't know that for sure because everything, like, why are these big companies, these big what's the word that I'm looking for? Production companies or whatever, movie whatever. They're all moving towards they are making the choice to move towards the streaming platforms, which
the movie studios.
Yeah, the movie studios, which is different though.
They're making a choice to what? I didn't hear.
Move towards a lot of these streaming platforms in a lot of cases, not all cases, but a lot of cases, and it's a slower move. It's almost as if they're making the deals work for them instead of the music industry's move towards streaming platforms was because they were forced to, because illegal downloads were coming in and they weren't making anything. Nothing.
Yeah, I know.
So it's a little bit of a different, like, dynamic.
But the labels didn't create Spotify and Apple Music.
Well, yeah, the movie studios didn't create Netflix
I know.
or whatever. But
so, I mean, both were kind of forced. The movie industry was also forced to deal with Netflix. It's not like it was something they created.
I understand, but from their choice to move over to the platform, to move some of their movies over to the platform, it has to be benefiting them more than what it's benefiting music on Apple.
I would guess you're right about that. But at the same time,
I'd be willing to bet a lot of money.
We know way more about the music industry than we do about the movie industry, right? I would wonder if someone that knew more about the movie industry would think the same thing about music, because both have happened. You know, all music is on Spotify and Apple Music now. So if you didn't know any better, wouldn't you think, well, it can't be a bad deal for artists and labels if everyone's moving their music over there?
Well, it's not. It is a good thing because of where they were before the 2000 to 2009 era.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the reason. But the movie industry was never in that,
right? So yeah, I mean, it's kind of comparing apples and oranges a little bit, because the music industry's always been kind of a shit show and a Wild West, like way more so than the movie industry, as far as my understanding of it. So.
Well, it has, just because the files are smaller and it's easier to steal.
As far as I know, especially with hip-hop, it's never been straightforward in the music industry. Somebody's always been getting fucked, and whether it be the label or the artist.
Right.
Or both.
But I think smartphones have kind of combated it too. They've combated stealing with convenience. So it's like, yeah, you can technically steal all the music you want still, but it's not convenient. It's not as convenient as opening up your app and being like, here are all the songs.
Well, and that's the thing. And you even wonder, like, I mean, if people had to pay more for Spotify and Apple Music, or had to pay period for those, because obviously there's the premium whatever, but you technically don't have to pay to hear all your, favorite songs.
Right.
If you had to, you'd have to find that number. You'd have to find that line where people pay because of that convenience. Because if it was too much, then you're gonna get back to the Wild West of, well, I'm just gonna find ways to get this shit for free.
Right.
But I think people have become so used to having it through Spotify and Apple Music and streaming that I think you could charge people some money
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I wonder if it'll ever get there.
But the thing is though, it's tough for me because okay, $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
It's a decent amount of money. And Spotify, like the business, I looked it up the other day and it's like worth something like $20 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like, yes, okay, they, you know, Spotify, Apple Music, they changed the way that music is listened to forever.
Mm-hmm.
So they deserve to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
20 billion on the backs of artists.
That's when it gets crazy and like, but that's just like business. That's what I'm saying. But it kind of goes back to what I said. How bad can it be if everybody's on it? Like if I created Spotify and I'm making money hand over fist, right?
Yeah.
And all my users on it, which are the artists, are complaining about how much I'm fucking them.
Mm.
My response to that is, no one told you had to be on my platform.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the only thing is though, the only reason why Spotify is a thing and why Apple Music is a thing is because labels had to cave. Their hands were tied behind their backs.
I know. I'm aware. I know why all this shit is why it is, but at the end of the day, do I think artists deserve a little more because they're the ones that actually make Spotify and Apple Music able to offer what it offers? Yeah, I do. If you look at it, just the pie chart of it, yeah. But I also firmly believe in just like business practices.
No. I agree with you. I think the only reason why I'm bringing this up is I think labels, big major labels, are ruining it for everybody without even their artists that are signing to their label, some of their artists even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't tell me that Lady Gaga is getting the same, Lady Gaga's label is getting the same payout from Spotify that we are.
Meaning what?
Meaning per stream. Their deal is different.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume.
I guarantee it.
And I would assume they have certain.
So, but here's the thing, and this is why this article is so important, is these labels are cutting these deals that get them a higher payout for them and then paying out their artist 12% of that. You see what I'm saying? So technically Spotify is paying more to the labels, but then fucking the artists, independent and signed, regardless.
Have you done any research to know that that's how it's gone down?
I've seen some art, but there's nothing concrete that, because no one releases their deals with anybody. So it's hard to even know, but because there are no exact numbers. But it's just the thing is, there's just no way that like Universal is putting all of their artists' music on Spotify and being like, yeah, I'm cool with 0.006 cents per stream. Like, there's no fucking way.
I don't know.
There's no fucking way.
I have no idea. I mean, if you look at the numbers that some of these big artists are doing, that shit would add up.
Yeah, but I think it's more like, because I think even when you look up how much you make on a stream on Spotify, it gives you a range. It says like 0.006 to like 0.034 or something like that. And to me, like even the 0.034, that builds up way quicker.
Oh, yeah.
Than anything else. But like, and I guarantee you how it's working is, yeah, the independent who the fuck cares artist that has to be on there because everybody else is on there is getting 0.006.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But the label people that technically have some power.
Yes.
Like if the label took off all of their artists from the Spotify platform, Spotify would collapse.
Right.
So they have to work with the label.
Yeah, they're all in bed together for sure.
Right.
And on the back end, the independent artist just gets the shit.
But, so to me, it just makes sense. Like you just kind of have to be smart in order to fill in the blanks and be like, look, something has to be happening behind the scenes that these labels are making more on Spotify.
Yeah.
It's probably not shit tons more, but it's more.
Yeah, but again, I would combat that with. I mean,
but the thing is, when an article like this comes out, though,
yeah,
and is like, artists are only making 12% of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because anything that is good for the music industry or anything like that gets fucked by the middleman. Like, gets absolutely screwed. So no matter what,
as far as money, but it also, like, because of how hip hop was built and everything, a lot of the things that are able to happen for these artists and why they are able to get such a spike in their numbers are because of the middlemen. So they deserve money now.
Right. Do
they deserve as much as they're getting? I don't know. You'd have to get into the nitty gritty of specific situations, but like, that's why you can even, and I'm sorry for bringing him up again, but it just pops into my mind, like, why you look at somebody like Russ. There's a reason Russ built a big following on his own independently, had a huge catalog, was making good money on his own independently, right?
Yeah.
He signed.
Right.
And blew up.
Yeah.
He would never be who he is, what he is right now without signing.
Yeah, no.
And he still signed.
Right.
And he had all the knowledge of what that meant for him and blah, 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 and he still signed because labels can do so much for you.
But that is literally like less than the 1% of everybody signed to a label, though, his situation.
Yeah, for sure.
So what I'm saying is that, to me, is how it should. He's almost treating the label as a marketing service that he was just like, hey, I need to take myself to the next level.
Yeah.
Here you go. Instead of the guy that was just discovered on the corner of Broadway and was like.
But don't you think that guy he didn't do anything for himself other than have talent?
No, so. And I'm not saying that. All that I'm saying is just that these artists, most of them, because most of them have a deal like this, are complaining about something that is totally called for, because you can't complain about something once the service has been done and you are all of a sudden famous now and everybody loves you, and you're saying you think artists are complaining about and are up in arms about the whole 12% thing. Yes.
And you're
fans too, because they don't understand.
And you're saying that they shouldn't be complaining because
they did it to themselves.
They signed the deal.
They did it to themselves.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that's the whole dilemma with labels is you have the talent, but talent doesn't get you any money until you grind for it and market yourself and cultivate a fan base and do all this stuff.
Right.
So you can choose to try to do that yourself independently and you'll make all the money. Like, you won't have to split it with anybody other than like whatever, whatever Spotify, the distributors all take off off the top, but you won't have to like pay a label or a middleman like that.
Right.
But it's very hard to do. And there's also a ceiling on it, even if you do it well.
Right.
Whereas you just go right to the label and you skyrocket. Like, you and I have built what we have for, almost 10 years now. Someone could go get signed to a major tomorrow and move past us in popularity like that. But now they might be making no money.
Right. But here's the other thing though too. Everyone loves those type of stories and everything, and they think that like, oh, I got to get signed to the majestic label that can shoot me up to the top just like that. They can.
Yeah.
But that's a 1% story.
Well, that's the thing. These labels
have the norm.
So many artists signed
that you don't even fucking know about.
Right. And they're even in 360 deals and stuff like that. Yes. So they're not popping. They're not doing shit. They're being shelved. They're handcuffed. And even if they were to do anything little, the label's taking most of that. So yeah, I mean, you even look at like XV, what happened to him? Like he was kind of up and coming, independent. We liked his music, and he signed and he disappeared.
Yeah. You want to know the fucked up thing too is labels have been doing this for years and are still doing it. Dude, they sign people with the promise of shooting them up and everything like that, and then shelve them mainly because they are threatening somebody else
on the label
that is already big.
So fucked up.
But that's my point, is like, you got so many, like, I don't think people understand how many artists are signed to these labels.
I know, and that's why you have to, like, for some people maybe it's worth the risk. Like, you have to determine that on your own as an artist. Like, hey, maybe there is only a 20% chance that this makes me rich and famous, and there's a and there's like a 60% chance that this fucks my career, and then there's like another 20% chance that I'm somewhere in between.
Right.
And you gotta calculate whether it's worth that risk. And a lot of that has to do with what you've been able to do on your own to that point.
Right.
And that's why it's so important for independent artists and people starting out that you do cultivate something on your own that you can use in negotiations and leverage with these labels. And that's why you see people like Russ and Logic and Chance and, you know, with good deals and good partnerships with these places, because they have something to leverage.
Right.
They can both help each other out and neither one of them is just getting fucked.
Right. Exactly. You have
But
to
if you, like,
have to have leverage.
If I today woke up, made a few songs, one of them went viral, and a big label approached me and said, "We want to sign you to a 360 deal. We're going to make you the biggest thing ever," right? It would probably be smart of me to try it.
Yeah.
Like maybe not, but I mean, there's a lot you can point to a lot of big artists right now that are very happy with their 360 deals. Very happy.
But I think it depends though on like your background, what you're used to.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
A lot of the things, like for the last 10 years, you've been able to do really whatever you want with your music.
Yeah.
Like that is not how a 360 deal works.
I know.
It's like the opposite.
I know. But at the end of the day, if it makes you money and gets you successful.
Well, and here's the tricky part of that though, is 360 deals work in the most fucked up way possible, where like technically they give you money, but they want it back. Like you have to do.
Trust me, I'm not with the 360 model. I'm just saying, if I was a label, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate. Like if I was a label, I completely understand why they're justified in this shit. And it's really, here's the bottom line. It's up to you as an artist to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
You just hear so many stories now about artists bitching about whatever their situation is on the back end.
Right.
Like there's so many stories that you can read and hear about of these things happening to art, like many artists throughout history. So you're the one that you thought you were so talented and dope and had so much going on, and you signed all this shit away. Right. You can't then go complain. It's not like there's some hidden thing in there.
No.
It is what it is.
But the thing is, if you're a dope enough artist though, and there's tons of people like in the industry now that are even saying this too, that if you think that you're dope, if you think that you're God's gift to music and you deserve everything that there is in the music industry, you should never be thinking about signing a deal.
For sure.
If you work hard enough, you can do it by yourself. Yeah, this day and age, there's nothing stopping you.
Yeah,
nothing.
I mean, that's the thing. Those 360 deals and deals like that are they're definitely not betting on yourself.
No, hell no.
So that's doing the opposite. So that's what's so frustrating. That's betting on the label.
Right.
So that's what's so frustrating about on the back end, these artists complaining about it, is you chose not to bet on yourself.
Right.
And then on the back end,
you chose not to do the dirty work.
Right. And then on the back end, you complain about everything everyone else is doing. Well, you could have taken the power in your own hands and you didn't.
Right. And you could have done it the way that you wanted to do it. That's the thing. And you're pretty much putting your trust into somebody that they will actually do the work.
Well, and that's what I mean. And it's tempting, I'm sure, because they have tons of connections. They probably have tons of proof that they've done it before. And you're talking about next level shit. Yeah. Like you're talking about potential superstar, famous, big shit. Right. And they can also dangle a lot of cool things, in the meantime, like advances and, fancy cars and trips here and tours here and shit like that. Right. But is the money there at the end?
Well, and yeah, are you going to be able to make that back though? Like that's the thing, is like the advance is awesome.
No, I know.
But it's like,
it's a loan.
It's not real money.
It's a loan. It's like you just went to the bank and we're super hype about a loan.
Right. Right. But that's the thing, is it's like, dude, I really am having a hard time like understanding why anyone would, just because let's imagine a world where labels were never a thing. Mm-hmm. Never. It only worked in the way of there were marketing consultants and you had them consult on a song or project basis.
Mhm.
That was the only way that you could have a middleman there in the music industry.
Yeah.
How much different it would be as far as there would be none of this like I deserve this, I deserve that.
I think very slowly that's where things are starting to head a little bit. I don't know if they'll ever actually get there, but you never used to see.
I don't think the labels will ever let it.
They
get
might
there.
not, but you never.
They have too much
But you
power.
never used to see partnerships like you do today,
Yeah.
where like you quote unquote sign a deal, but really what it is like this label is going to help me put this project out, market it, and put me on this tour and help do the tour.
Right.
And we're going to do this project and my next one, and then we'll see what happens.
Right.
And everything else, nothing. They don't touch anything. They don't just have a hand in everything. They don't touch my merch. They don't touch my old songs.
Right.
They don't touch whatever.
Well, the other thing too is like when you were even saying there's plenty of artists that are happy with their 360 deal. I'm wondering like how much do they actually know?
No, but okay. Here's what I mean by artists that are happy with their 360.
Are they just blissfully unaware?
And I'm not. I can't 100% say that these artists are in 360 deals, but I would guess. Like I'm 99% sure that they are.
Mm.
Lil Yachty.
Mm.
I would guess he is happy with his 360 deal. He's huge. He makes good money even in a 360 deal. Like the percentage that he makes on that deal is more money than if he made all of it his own, but he'd be way smaller. Like he is the artist, like the push. He's in fucking Target commercials, dude. Cardi B. I'm sure she's in a 360 deal.
Yeah.
Dude, she was like a stripper and on Love and Hip Hop and like
Yeah.
rapped,
I guess my
liked to rap.
problem with that.
And now she's rich now.
Yeah. And I guess my problem with that though is you look at these people and you're like, oh, 360 deals can be better than most, like what a lot of people would say that they are.
Mm.
But again, those are 3 people out of how many fucking artists?
I'm not sitting here making the argument.
But I guess that's the problem that I have with the whole situation.
But that's why the labels have the leverage, is because let's say like those 2 examples
they have the poster boys and they can say that.
and let's say like let's use the examples I just gave. If Cardi B negotiated with her label and actually negotiated a pretty good deal for herself where she got a pretty good cut, which wouldn't ever happen because the label knows what they want. But if she did, well, she wouldn't be the Cardi B you know today because the label wouldn't have put all that shit behind her because they're not getting the cut.
Right.
When they know they're getting this big cut, they put everything behind you. They put you on everything.
Right. And I guess that's the thing is like me being not the unbeliever in the music industry that I am is saying that there should never be somebody that is that fucking famous. Like if the world was run in the fair way that every artist wants it to be run with there still being superstardom, that superstardom can't exist in a world that is like that.
Yeah, but that's some hippie bullshit though.
No, but there's not enough people attached to it. Like you can't have that. It's literally impossible.
Right.
So, but that's not
business.
That's what I'm saying.
It's capitalism.
That's not hippie bullshit. That's
it's like utopia. It's like if all things were equal, but no one would ever get this big. No business would ever be bigger than the other business. No, like.
But that's what I'm saying though. Is like when you have an article like this with the 12%, and all the artists are in an uproar.
I know. People aren't aware of their business. Those people live in that fantasy land
because of that potential. Like that's why.
Right. Yeah, because
these companies
like a label can go say, we just signed Cardi B, look at her. They don't say, look at these 99 other artists that we signed that aren't shit.
They're all in competition to have the next superstar.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
That's where the big money is.
I know, and as soon, like that's the thing. Even if let's say you sign to a label and you don't even just get shelved and fucked right away. Let's say they put something out with you, right? And let's say you think, oh, this was halfway successful. We made a decent amount of money on it. Well, if it wasn't what they wanted it to be, if it wasn't high enough, if you weren't the next superstar,
you're done.
See ya.
Yep.
But you don't get let out of your deal necessarily because they don't want you as competition.
No, you don't get let out of your deal.
And they feel like, okay, we launched you with that project. We got you this whatever. We're not going to let you just go use that and be competition for us. You're shelved.
No, exactly. That's how it's structured.
Yeah.
And that's why it's fucked, is because
it's definitely fucked. And and that's why it even, the way things are going now where they just sign these like viral stars, that makes me sick, because that's even just like, you're just using it. It's dirty. Everything, all that shit feels dirty when you just take a viral person, you try to suck as much money out of them as you can, and then you throw them to the side. And it's like, I don't feel bad for the artist in that situation either, because I don't even see them as actual artists.
No,
it's just yucky. The whole situation is just,
well, and that's why too. Like, it's just, man, it's so hard to get excited about music now. A lot of these artists is just because
they're not artists.
It's
whoever has the most,
makes me like,
whoever has the most social media attention gets signed, and let's turn them into an, look at I forget who the chick that was on Dr. Phil, like I don't even remember what her
Bad
name
Bobby
is.
or whatever.
Yeah, like she's not even an artist. She just became this like viral sensation, not. and you turn, like, music is the way to turn these people into money now. It's fucked.
No, I hate it. And like that's why, like, anytime that you see those big superstars come up under the label and everything, is it's like you have to sit back and you have to wonder about yourself and being like, do I like this, or is there
just what I hear?
There's got to be something better out there. Just because the label wants me to hear it, like, is this actually good?
Right.
That's what makes me sick about it. Like, anytime that I hear that, is it's just like, I mean, for all the artists that are out there today, just because this person is in front of me right now, they're the superstar. They're the apex of what music is supposed to be right now, because the label and the radio says it's supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
So fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, there's no like there's no just clear right and wrong answer when it comes to like the label split because it all just depends on certain situations. And at the end of the day, I just kind of stand with, I do believe artists get fucked over a lot. I also just, many of the sob stories you hear are people that literally put themselves knowingly in the position that they're in, and then turn around and bitch about it. And I can't really have much sympathy for that.
No, I don't have any sympathy for it. Like, you have to just know, it's all business. These like right now, it's all business. So you have to think, okay, this business isn't hiring me to give me money. Like, that's not the way that it works. And plus, like, for the amount of people that they have to hire in order to get you into that position, you have to be stupid to think that you're getting anything like more than like 12% or something like that. Think about how many people have their hands in
that's what I mean. Like, that's why that 12% number, like, it doesn't even do anything to me, because to me, that's just, okay, 12%. So that would mean that my shit has to generate what amount of money for me to make something decent. Because that's the thing, it is big business at that point. So if you can generate, millions of dollars, that 12% doesn't look so bad.
Well, 12% only sickens me just because, from an independent standpoint, we always have to deal with the majors making the rules.
No, it
therefore
sickens me from the general sense of an artist makes 12% of the shit that they create.
Right.
It sickens me from that perspective.
But we're separate. We're separate from that, like, independently.
But even in general, artists making 12% of the work they do fine. Like, yeah, that is shitty on face value. But like I said, when I am just thinking about it from these label artists' perspective, you're not generating millions of dollars worth of revenue on your own.
No.
So if you do generate millions of dollars worth of revenue and you get 12% of that, that's probably still higher than what you would have generated on your own.
Yeah, I agree, but all that I'm saying is, on an independent standpoint.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying.
I even see that 0.006 cents on every stream that an artist gets, like probably an independent artist gets. And you're just like, okay, Spotify, $20 billion company, and I get 0.006 for every person that I have stream my song on your platform.
Yeah.
What?
And you still upload every song.
Well, but that's the thing, is like, what else am I supposed to do?
I know. But
Like, the thing is, by me being like, and that's why it sickens me though when I see an article like that, because it's like the majors are the reason for that. Yes. They are what make that possible because they hold some of the cards.
Yeah, because if the big artists weren't on there, then Spotify would have to, like, smaller artists have to rely on the bigger artists to set the rules.
Yes, the bigger labels.
Well, and in turn, the bigger artists.
Right.
Because that's who's on the bigger labels.
Right.
And so, yeah, if Drake and his label took a stand and said, we want the rates to go up for artists or we're pulling our music down.
Mm-hmm.
And
Spotify would have to...
And some other artists followed suit.
Right.
They'd have to start making moves.
Right.
But if a million independent artists said, we're going to take our music, they'd be like, okay, you guys make up 2% of what's actually...
Well, and that's why I say, like, there is some background negotiation going on because I'm sure labels are saying that. I'm sure artists are saying that, but they came with a number that was doable for them.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden everybody else has to get fucked.
Yeah.
Because the major labels are happy.
Beating this topic into the ground. Is the podcast done?
Probably.
So we've been talking about the same thing for like 40 minutes.
Well, it's the only thing in the news that's like music.
No, and I'm that's something I'm very interested in, and you and I are, and something that's actually really important to what we do. So it's just it sucks that you're kind of powerless, and you have to just like I keep saying cynically, but it's true. Like everything you say, I'm like, yeah, but you still upload the next song because we have to. Well, like you have to, and we're not going to keep talking about it. I'm just saying that's what it is, and it's unfortunate, but it's also fortunate in many ways too.
I just think a lot of people need to be aware because I really think, I mean, there's a lot of people that have literally no idea what the fuck is going on in that, and it is kind of like, you know, especially fans like. I always was hungry to kind of know what was going on in the music industry even before we started this music stuff and everything. It was just an interesting thing for me to know. And if I would have known like to the degree, because it wasn't like that when we were listening to music before doing music. It was before like right around like probably before 2004. Was when it really started to like go down and Napster started to be like a huge thing. LimeWire started to be a huge thing and people weren't buying CDs as much as they were. Before that point, the music industry was awesome. Artists were making shit tons of money just because labels were making goo gobs of money because there was no other way to get the music.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden it's in a bad spot for artists.
Yeah, but there's give and take though, because like
it's in the bad spot for labels though too.
But you were just saying it was in a good spot for like artists and labels were making goo gobs of money because of the situation then. But there was no independent artist.
No, there wasn't.
So now,
well, there was, but
there wasn't. Like,
I mean, not to the degree
not
that
even
there is
close.
today.
Not even close.
No.
So that's what I'm saying. So. Like on one hand, you can look at streaming and say artists are making less money, like established artists are making less money, but you could also look at it and say there's so many artists now that have been able to make something of themselves that couldn't before because they didn't have the connections and didn't know the gatekeepers.
Yeah, and I mean,
so there's give and take with everything.
That's great. Like that's fine, but I still think that. It's just it's a principle, and I think it needs to be worked on because it's not right for all these billion-dollar companies to be a thing.
I agree with that.
On the backs of work that people just aren't getting paid for. No, like that's kind of shitty.
Last point too on that, I just thought about it. I think it was that Lior interview again. That something I knew but I never really thought about either is back then labels had to spend shit tons of money on physical CDs to sell.
Right.
Now they don't spend any money on distribution.
No.
It's just
but a good, I mean, I'm not exactly sure how that works. They don't spend nearly as much as what they did on physical.
Well, yeah, CDs are still a thing, but they're becoming obsolete.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that they don't though, because honestly, like I don't know how labels would have survived. Even artists, even major artists would have survived 2000 to 2009 if digital stuff wasn't free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I mean, there was a point in time where I remember like the music industry was looking,
I know,
real questionable.
I know. Well, that's why you have like Apple come in with iTunes and all that stuff, is because they
took advantage of that.
Yeah, there's a massive issue here. Let's jump in and be the people that can take advantage of it.
Right. You want to jump into voicemails?
Sure.
All right. Let's take the first one here.
What's up, Pac? What's up, Mo? This is Ryan. I'm from Port Huron. Shout out to Illinois. I have two questions for Pac. I was just wondering if the story on Delirious was the actual story of how you met your girl. I always assumed that was it. If it's not, it would be interesting to kind of see what that story was. My second question was that, what was the experiences like when your girl's family kind of was introduced to what you do, what your job was, and if they liked your music, if they've already seen it before, stuff like that. So, yeah, that would be interesting because it's kind of a different dynamic than just a regular job or whatever. So, yeah, keep it up. Podcast is dope.
Good question, Ryan. Delirious is definitely inspired by the time period where I was meeting my girl. But it's not like, it's not completely biographical, but definitely that was the period of time when I wrote it. And as far as like meeting her family and what I do and stuff, that's a good question. They're really cool about it. Like, I've never heard a bad word about it, but I always personally wonder, like, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't necessarily be hype about my daughter like dating a rapper. And so I just always am aware of it, and I always just kind of assume that there's a little bit of a stigma there, but they've never made me feel like that at all. And they're just cool about it. Glow's dad is actually like super musical, way more so than I am, and I'm pretty sure her brother is subscribed to the YouTube channel and keeps up on it. So if you're listening, bud, shout out. So yeah, they've been awesome with it. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm aware of and think about sometimes, because it's just like, you always wonder what type of stigma is attached to that, and you always try to fight it a little bit.
Yo, Pac, Moe-T, it's Jared from Reno, Nevada, and I have two questions. A, what kind of dog is Mowgli? And B, what's your favorite type of animal? Love the podcast. Used cars is fire. Keep it up, and see you guys later.
Glow's just the center of attention on this podcast. Mowgli is a lab husky, and full disclosure, before I started hanging with Glow and getting to know her, I was not a dog person. I wasn't an animal person, period. Like, never had a pet growing up. Didn't fuck with dogs. I was scared of dogs as a kid. Like, they'd chase me down my street on my bike and shit. And but pretty early on, like, I knew it was gonna be, if Glow was gonna come around, she had a dog, and so I was gonna have to get to know the dog. And so he came over a few times, and she was real respectful with him, and like, he just kind of stayed on his blanket on the couch, and didn't. But I slowly got to know him, and it really didn't take long for me to kind of fall in love with him. And I like dogs a lot now. Like, Dags had got a dog like around the same time, Nick's, that I've gotten to know, and so now some of my closer friends and obviously Glow have dogs. And I'm not a cat person. They're just, not that I'm like, oh, a cat, get it away from me, but I just don't see what they bring to the table. They're just creepy. As far as I know, you can't, how much fun can you really have with them? Like, maybe they'll curl up with you and you can just.
Nah, I've never really understood
But
cats.
to me, the ones I've been around, for the most part, they're always just creeping around. And,
yeah.
they give me the heebies.
What up? This is Ishmael from Houston, Texas. And my question for you guys today is, what is your preferred brand of like headphones? So, like Beats, Apple EarPods, Bose, Audio-Technica, Sennheiser, all that stuff. So let me know what you guys in the podcast. Appreciate y'all. Have a nice day.
I want to get those wireless pods.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people like them.
I know. I think I'd like those. I haven't tried them yet, but I definitely want to try those. As far as like studio headphones, we always go with Audio-Technica. I've tried the Beats because it frustrates me. I don't know if we've talked about this, just you and I, or if we've talked about it on the podcast, but it's really frustrating that Beats are the only headphones that look cool. Like every other headphone looks very much the same.
Right.
And Beats actually look cool. So I've given them a try, and I have a couple pairs of Beats, but to me, you're just paying a lot of money just for something to look cool. They don't produce some amazing sound.
I wouldn't say they produce any like crazy sound or anything like that. And honestly, I would probably prefer Audio-Technica over the Beats.
I prefer Audio-Technica's sound to my Beats.
Yeah.
And they're less expensive, and to me, they're just of that mid-range tier of headphones price-wise. Audio-Technicas look all right. For those that don't know, these are Audio-Technica headphones. They have a couple different colorways, but yeah,
Beats definitely look the coolest, but
for sure,
I don't think that they're worth their price tag at all.
I would agree. If money's not a thing, Beats are cool, but yeah.
What the heck is going on here?
Hey, it's Brody from Atlanta, Georgia. I was just wondering when you guys were going to release a new project, preferably like an album or a mixtape of some sort. I love the ink blot. I really like used cars. I was just curious as to when you guys may be dropping another project. I was also curious if you guys would ever come out to Atlanta. Would love to see you guys live. I love the podcast, and keep up the good work.
We would come to Atlanta. Just like most cities, it's just when it happens, it'll happen. It's like we can't just do like really it doesn't make sense for us to do a bunch of just one-offs necessarily. So when it all comes together and we can get on the road, we're open to any city, and you guys will definitely know. Same type of shit as far as you guys knowing when an album's on the way. Like when I'm working on stuff, whatever, I don't really like to give too much away. I'm sure you guys can tell with how I talk sometimes, and even in my music, I'm not a big fan of hyping things up until they are at least relatively close to fruition, because I hate being the person that says something that doesn't actually end up happening. So I'm always working on new music, whether it turns into more singles or an album or whatever the case may be. I'm always working, and I definitely haven't dropped my last album, so that's not the case. But when I'm in a place where I want to start telling you guys about exactly what's going on, I will, and hopefully it'll be sooner than later.
Hey guys, it's Dylan from Minnesota. Pack, I can't wait to see you out at the show on September 7th. Just in anticipation of that, wondering what goes into like making a set list for a show, and how does that change when you're co-headlining with somebody like Ollie Joseph? Just kind of what decisions go into what songs you do or don't do, and how that changes when somebody else is doing the show with you. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
That's a good question. Just first off, it's not Ollie Joseph on the Minneapolis show. It's Ollie from Toronto Ollie. I'm on a song with him called Rise. But yeah, just to clear that up. But good question. As far as the set list goes, because it is always different and interesting as far as, if you do a bunch of shows, you do as an artist, sometimes you want to perform new stuff, but yet you have your hits that people are coming to the show to hear. And so you have to find, I would say you have to find a balance, but you almost don't even find a balance. You almost just have to err on the side of your popular songs and your hits, and maybe you can throw in one or two that you just feel like performing. But like speaking from a fan of other artists, I would be like a little disappointed if I had never been to a Kendrick concert and he didn't perform Mad City or something like that. You know,
Right.
like I want to hear that. So
Right.
but even though he as an artist has performed that a zillion times and is probably like, okay, anyone that's ever wanted to hear this song has heard it. Like, let me move on. But you have to do it.
Right.
And so, yeah, preparing a set, you got to do the popular songs and the ones that people are there to see. And then you can maybe have, depending on how long of a set you get, you can maybe throw in a couple newer ones. Like, you definitely want to balance out, even if they're not quite as popular as the old ones because they haven't had the time. You want to throw some new shit in there.
I think it really just depends on the time that you have, because there's certain set, like when you're doing a headline set, it's an hour. When you're doing an opening set, half hour or around there, sometimes even 20 minutes, 15 minutes. It really depends on what time
For
you
sure.
have in order to really figure out, okay, do I only have time for hits, or can I actually throw some stuff in there where...
For the hour-long sets, you can get a little funkier with it. But yeah, for the typical opener, like half hour, 20-minute to a half-hour set, you pretty much do your biggest songs and get off the stage.
Right.
And then, yeah, and as far as like the co-headline, I would guess I don't even know yet, but I would guess that's going to end up being like about a 45-minute set or something like that. Maybe it'll be an hour, I don't know, but I would guess like 45. And so yeah, I'll do the popular stuff, and then I'll maybe throw in some new stuff and some shit I'm in the mood for. But yeah, the co-headline is more just, there's lots of things that go into putting a show on, as far as booking the show, who's gonna sell tickets, like who's going last, who's going second to last. And it's just like, Ali and I are cool, and we just kind of, with these Chicago and Minneapolis shows coming up, we both kind of helped out as far as booking them, and you know, not one of us is, you know, way bigger than the other one or whatever. So we just decided to you know, do co-headline and make sure one of us wasn't getting the better slot than the other one or something like that. So that's all that means.
What's up, guys? This is Steve from Columbia. I went to see your show one night, and I remember partying with you guys afterward. That was a fun time when we were in Columbia, South Carolina.
I remember
But my
that.
question is, with Mac Miller just releasing another album, just like when you guys did the J. Cole rankings on one of your previous
yeah, Mac
podcasts,
Miller. I did listen to that.
how would you rank Mac Miller's projects, both albums, mixtapes, anything you want? Because one of my friends said watching movies with the sound off is #1 album, and that surprised me because I like a lot of his earlier stuff, but opinions, rank them just like the J. Cole album. Love your podcast, guys. See you.
Steve, first of all, I remember that night. That was a fun ass night in Columbia. I can't remember what that venue is called. For some reason, the Farm keeps popping up in my head, but I don't think that's what it was.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
But it was like a packed show. I remember the pictures from it and stuff. It was mad fun.
Yeah.
That might have been with Air.
I'm pretty sure it was with Air.
But Mac Miller, that's who I was trying to think of. I was like, Travis, when you said the not much music dropped, I was like, Travis, and there was one other big one. And I haven't gotten a chance to listen to Mac. And I like Mac Miller. So we're gonna have to table your question for another week. But that's a good question, because he has had some. Mac is another just consistent one to me. Like, he doesn't, I forget about him sometimes because he falls off the map, and I don't necessarily think he has like a classic album or anything, but he's always pretty consistent. He never really like disappoints me, and I'm like, wow, that album sucked.
Right.
But he doesn't pop up on features. He disappears a lot. So I do forget about him sometimes, but yeah, we'll try to remember that for next week, and maybe we can talk, like, kind of rank his albums once I get a chance to listen to his new one. You said you listened to it, Matt?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Word.
I liked it better than
Watching movies?
Yeah.
I liked watching movies, so I'm interested to hear it. His kids mixtape was fire when he first came up.
Yeah.
And I hate to be that person, like, oh, that first mixtape I heard of him was his most fire. He's never been the same. Like, it's not like that. That was really dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm glad he said that because I was just thinking about that at the top of the podcast. There's something I didn't listen to, and that's what it was.
That's what it was. Okay. That's the end of the voicemails.
With the Minnesota, just September 6th, Chicago. September 7th, Minneapolis. If you haven't got your tickets, go get them. Gonna be some fun shows. Ollie's on both of them. So yeah.
All right. That's it. Anything else that we forgot?
To you by Elkmos, Hip Hop Alchemist.
That's right.
Mr. Porter. These are the hip hop don'ts.
Royce is here. Royce is
starting now. Yes.
Royce is absolutely here as well.
Royce 5'9" is here.
He found some snacks.
If you have an emergency, it cannot be with an urgency.
So Eminem made like a 10-minute video.
And you're rushed to emergency surgery, you cannot be burned in 3rd degree. No.
Basically giving you a bunch of don'ts for rappers.
It cannot be like you never heard of me.
You gotta know him.
You have to know me.
And basically what it is like shit that's just been overused in hip hop
Yeah,
lines.
you could still go. If it's a 2nd degree burn,
okay,
you can be rushed to emergency surgery, but there can be no urgency.
Absolutely not.
No urgency.
If you haven't heard it, check it out. It's 10 minutes, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's pretty funny if you're an M fan.
Have a limp.
No.
The funny thing is, I feel like if I went back and listened to a bunch of M songs, that he would have used many of these.
Wait, let me play this one because this is like just a shortened version of it.
Okay.
So
bars.
You're a new up and comer, right, in hip hop, and you don't understand the history of hip hop. That these things have been rhymed way too many times by now. We're just giving you the don'ts.
So what are these don'ts? And who's
cannot be like you
them? Let's see.
If you're gonna murder me, it cannot be like you never heard of me.
You gotta know him.
These niggas said it heard of me, I ain't heard of you. Get the fuck up on my fucking face before I murder you.
If you want to be a pimp, you cannot have a limp. And if you are a pimp and that's what you choose to do, that's fine. It's all good. Yeah. Just do not have a limp.
Watch how I move, mistake before I play up here. Been hit with a few shells, but I don't walk with a limp.
You cannot be a mobster and eat lobster.
At all.
If you are a mobster, stay the fuck away from lobster.
Yeah. The money tell me tuna and a lobster. They wanna do me, I'ma know it like a monster.
You cannot have bodies like John Gotti.
Feeling like I'm John Gotti, cause I don't fit nobody.
You cannot die hard.
Nope.
You cannot die hard like Bruce Willis. No more. Knowledge and college.
Nope.
You are not allowed to. You can have knowledge, but it better not be from college. When I'm so cold, when I'm dropping knowledge, my degrees is the same as I got in college. 0. No more manage to do damage. If you're gonna manage something, it cannot be damaged.
If I do manage to do damage to you, damn it, it'll be grandest 10 Grammys.
From now on, lie in the booth because you cannot be in the booth to spit the truth to the young youth. No more.
The youth ain't respecting the truth, fam. The Glock 9 is only in the booth, right here. All I talk is that real shit, the truth.
If you're gonna be lyrical, you better not. You better stay the fuck away from Miracle.
And I'm a lyrical miracle, matter of fact, the paradox on stage while my DJ scratching like chicken pox.
There you have it. Eminem's stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot more. It's a 10-minute video in full, but yeah, that was pretty good.
Better stay the fuck away from miracles.
It's good because it's just funny, and they know. Like, if you went back and went through their catalog, you could probably make a parody video of Eminem using every one of those at some point. But it's funny because it is true. Like, there are certain, especially me as a writer, there are so many. You have one word that you got to rhyme, and there's such an obvious one to go with it, and it's like, but it gets used every time, and it's so obvious. Do I really want to like do that one?
Well, like that lyrical miracle, like whatever, like that.
She's made fun of that many times.
That shit is so true.
Yeah,
you better stay the fuck away from miracles.
It's funny that they used a Logic one for that one.
I don't know,
because he can get a little lyrical miracle-y sometimes.
He definitely can get a little lyrical miracle-y. Okay, is that it?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Good long discussion about the new age we're in with music.
The new music industry fucked upness.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. In the last month or so, we've had a couple breaks with my vacation and Mo and I taking a little trip, but we should be back for the long haul now for the most part for the rest of the year.
Hopefully. There's only one other, like, I think we'll be able to make it work next week, but I have a wedding. My last wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Is next week.
Moe-T's had some good friends getting married where he's in the wedding and everything, so.
Yep. So I'm that old.
Yep. But we'll make it work.
All right. Outroing to Last of the Real Ones by Packy.
Nice.
Throwing it back.
I used this one when I did my solo pod.
Oh, did you?
You ain't unique.
Oh, then I'm not doing this one.
You ain't unique.
Screw that. What other one can I do? I thought I was unique, but I guess not.
No.
Oh,
Been there, done that.
Here, I know one that I can use.
No, you don't.
What? I'm going to outro to Plan Accordingly by Packy.
Guess what other one I used on my solo
Plan
pod?
Accordingly?
Yeah.
No! I'm outroing with Miss Me. Miss Me Too.
On my J.O.B. You should see the way the boy been working, they should pay O.T. Everybody know you mine, we just try to stay low-key. This the type of joint they should be playing up at K.O.D. Do it all for the boy, you been waiting all fall for the boy. You know you the baddest, you don't even trip when they fall for the boy. How you like it when I talk my shit, girl, feeling like I done enough to back it up.